Hey Greg, it's time to go home. Can you believe it?
Tell you my story really fast.
Oh, really fast?
Well, yeah.
Well, slow down, Greg. Slow down, man.
10 minutes is fast for me.
Okay.
First, how's my makeup?
You look pretty damn sweet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I look like a whole shiny new person. So, I'm from Reno, Nevada. I started doing drugs in 1971 with marijuana, quickly graduated to two-and-alls and second-alls, Black Beauty 335s. Started doing a lot of LSD, and when punk came around, I started with loads, which is 2-Dordan and 4-codeine. It was called poor man's heroin. And quickly graduated to crystal meth and heroin, and for 30 years I did, I don't know how many houses I bought in Mexico for people I don't even know, but I spent so much money on dope, and just hideously addicted. I went to rehab after rehab, never stayed clean. I had 4 years off heroin, but I was staying awake for a month at a time on speed, and just could never break a cycle of addiction. And I'm almost 50 years old now, and I have a new girlfriend who doesn't put up with BS, and she's got a background in chemistry and forensic science. She could tell what I was doing when I was sleeping. Couldn't get anything by her, and she wasn't going to put up with it, and she loved me and I loved her, and she packed me off down here to New Mexico to do Ibogaine.
To New Mexico?
Sorry. I lived in New Mexico for years. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Just checking.
I'm in Mexico.
You're at the dream house.
I'm at the dream house.
Mexico.
So I came down here. My habit when I left Reno was probably, I was doing about a gram in a shot. I was doing a little under 10 bags, mixing it with cocaine and heroin and speed. I mean, all in one shot. It was I call it a hairball, not a speedball, a hairball. And I was unhealthy. I've torn myself apart, and I was not going to last much longer. And I realized it, and I'd always promised myself that if I got to 50 and I was still waiting for the guy, that it would be one long regret. You don't want to go with regrets, and so I have had to make the choice to stop doing dope. I just checked myself into rehab in January, and that didn't work. I stayed 10 days, got clean, got out, went right home, did a shot. My girlfriend found out about Ibogaine first, researched it heavily. Talked to Eric Taub a lot. He suggested that I come down here.
And when you got here, we ran into a few snafus around your physical health.
I was a very high-risk case. Can I show my legs?
Yeah. Let's see.
This is 25 years of shooting up in your legs.
Thank you. And they look a little better, actually.
Well, they've shrunk a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of preparatory work. I had IV heparin, a blood thinner. I have hypertension, and so there were some health concerns. The doctor here gave me the best physical I ever had. He could tell that I had pulmonary disease just by listening to me. No doctor in the state has ever bothered to even try and figure out what was up. And I know because I have a granuloma, which is, a nodule, I guess, in my lung from years of smoking and shooting meth, probably. And so I've had CAT scans, and they've told me that I've had pneumonia and never known it, so I have bad lung scarring. And the doctor just listened to my chest and said, you have pulmonary disease. So I got the best physical I've ever had. I mean, amazing health care. Got all the proper meds, got heparin, had to prep myself for a week, got shooting heparin into my legs, had an echosonogram of my legs to make sure that there was no clot factors there, no risk of clotting. So it was a long prep. It took me 2 weeks before I could do my treatment.
Did you expect that? How was that for you?
What, the 2-week prep?
Yeah.
It was okay. It's what I had to do. I mean, everyone at the Dream House totally kept me stabilized. At no point did I have any discomfort at all. My habit transition was seamless. When I flew down here, I had bags of dope in my mouth in case I missed a flight. And as soon as Asha met me at the airport, I swallowed him with my turkey sandwich. She had meds on her, but the shot I'd done that morning was so big, I was just flying right through the flight.
Right.
And I got here, and everybody's just super kind and really took really wonderful care of me. And when I finally got to my treatment night, you know, I was ready for it, but I guess I wasn't, because a certain percentage of people throw up. Was it 60%?
I don't know what the statistic is.
Yeah.
Maybe. Don't ask me.
Yeah,
okay.
I hear it's 40 to 60% of people.
That sounds about right.
Have some sort of vomit episode. I had 9 rounds of violent vomiting that were of about 5, for want of a better term, ejecticas each, and they were so violent that my nose started bleeding, and every time I threw up, Christopher or Jack was there within 5 seconds. And they were so attentive and so amazing, and they're like, you know, I've made lifelong friends here now, and it was not what I expected. I had expected it to be a lot more auditory or visual.
It's Mexico.
Yeah. I've done LSD probably 300 times. Oh, wait a second.
You may be waiting a long time, Greg.
He's rolling pretty quick. Can you hear me over him?
I think so. Just keep talking.
Okay. What was I talking about? All I heard was...
You were talking about your experience with LSD, but...
Oh, yeah. I've done LSD hundreds of times. I've done peyote probably 30 times, mushrooms 100 times. I was expecting to be very different than that, but for me personally, it wasn't so very different. When I finally, I took my final flood dose, but I wasn't quite able to keep it down. It came up pretty rapidly within about 20 minutes. Christopher waited an hour and gave me another flood dose, and I puked it up, and there's no more wasting any more Ibogaine on Greg, because I don't think Greg was going to be able to keep any more Ibogaine in. But it was enough, and basically I shut my eyes, and slowly things, you know, became fractal patterns. I did have a couple of beings come from here over here to the side of the bed, and I couldn't tell if they were real, so I opened my eyes, and then they went away, and then I shut my eyes, and there they were again, and they came over to the side of the bed. I will say that in Nevada I've seen UFOs at least 10 times. I've photographed them. It's not our technology, so I know there's all kinds of entities in this universe. And, you know, for want of a better term, it could have been my own brain function, probably was, but they looked like entities checking me out. But that was about it. And then other than that, it was just fractal based, and a lot of... I had 28 years of hardcore narcotic use to get out of me, and so the vomiting is just a special byproduct of like just abusing the shit out of yourself for 3 decades. The day after my treatment, I was weak, I was dehydrated. I came downstairs once that day. The second day I was up and down the stairs. The third day I walked 5 miles on the beach. There was, other than the vomiting, which was a little uncomfortable, it was seamless.
Except for you played that joke on me about...
I tried to.
I will get you back for that, Greg.
I hope so. But I went to the restaurant and I asked the waiter to give me some flour, and I tried to come back to the dream house with powder packed up my nose, but it's so humid down here it got absorbed before I got here.
I'm talking about you pretending to fall on the floor.
Oh, that one. Oh, sorry.
That's okay, I think.
Mary's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I go, and I was like, "No, I'm fine." I mean, I had no ataxia whatsoever. You know, I was a little wobbly the first day, but in my third day I went for a 5-mile walk in the sand on the beach, and I feel great. I don't have that voice in my head, which I've always had. It's going, "You're clean now." You can feel it really good when you get home. When I get home, I can sit in a room full of junkies and just not have the least bit of interest. It's the most amazing thing in the world. I mean, it's a miracle that you can break a 30-year habit and not have to go through medieval American, you know, detoxes, other forms of addiction, you know, buprenorphine. And my father wanted me to go to Betty Ford on buprenorphine, followed by a round of convulsive shock therapy. He's an atomic physicist. He's very Western-minded.
Greg, you know what? We're running out of seconds here to get under the 10 minutes, my golly. But you know what? We love you, and We're going to hear from you later, more about your experience.
Yeah. Well, I have no teeth, so I'm coming back down to get my teeth screwed in.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.